very good evening. You're watching Primetime News on TV1 live and direct from our Newsfirst studios in Colombo. Bringing you the news, I'm Jadabdeen.
And I'm Naveksha Gunasekara. Here are your headlines for tonight.
Bill to abolish MP pension scheme passed without amendments. Cabinet green light to build homes for low-income parents whose children entered the monastic life. President Arora heads to India for AI Impact Summit on Prime Minister Modi's invitation. UK Deputy Prime Minister David Lammy arrives in Sri Lanka, says the UK remains committed to supporting Sri Lanka's child protection efforts. IMF Managing Director visits Gampola to inspect Ditwa disaster damage. Bangladesh's new Prime Minister takes oath of office.
And on to those stories in detail in your top story this evening. The bill to abolish pension benefits for members of Parliament was passed in Parliament today without any amendments. The second reading debate on the bill took place this morning, followed by a vote in which it was approved with a majority of 152 votes. A total of 154 MPs voted in favour, while only 2 votes were cast against it. The 2 opposing votes were from Chamara Sampath Dasanayake, MP of the New Democratic Front, and Chanaka Madugoda, MP of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna. During the committee stage, an amendment was proposed to Clause 3 and a vote was taken. The amendment received 152 votes against, while 4 votes were cast in favour. Accordingly, the bill to abolish MP pensions was passed at the committee stage without amendments with a majority of 148 votes. The MPs who voted in favour of requiring amendments were Ravi Karunanayake, Faizal Mustafa and Chamara Sampath Dasanayake of the New Democratic Front, along with Chanaka Madugoda of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna. Notably, several MPs were absent during the vote, including SLPP National Organiser Namal Rajapaksa, SLPP MP D.V. Chanaka, the opposition leader, and MPs of the Samagi Janabala Begya. With the bill now passed, the pension benefits currently received by former MPs and their widows stand to be abolished. Over 550 former MPs and their dependents are currently known to receive these pension benefits.
If anyone has already taken a pension before this act was introduced, we are not saying they must return those pensions. What has been taken can be kept. What we are saying is that from today onwards, it will not be allowed. As of January 2025, the total amount paid to retired MPs was 34.4 million rupees. This is part of the abyss this country has fallen into. Until the nation is healed and recovers, we simply do not have the moral right to continue taking pensions. That is why, Honourable Speaker, we are bringing this act and abolishing it.
අපි විශ්වාස කරනවා පාර්ලිමේන්තු මන්ත්‍රීවරුන්ට විශ්‍රාම වැටුපක් තිබිය යුතුයි කියන කාරණා.
We believe members of parliament should have a pension. In democratic countries such as India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Malaysia, Singapore, the United States, Germany and Japan, pensions are given to public representatives for an important reason: to minimize bribery and corruption. We said this political culture must change. It was corrupt politicians who created this culture. The Honourable Opposition Leader says pensions were introduced to reduce bribery or corruption. Yet, you have surely seen how, even while receiving pensions, corruption thrived. The people of this country know very well how corruption, fraud and financial abuse continued until the country went bankrupt. Some even had soldiers to wash their dogs. We want to build genuine public servants who work alongside ordinary citizens. That is our promise to the nation. If the opposition wants these privileges in the future, they can put it in their manifesto and seek a public mandate. But we are taking this step because it is the mandate given to us by the people.
News First with the people.
The Managing Director of the International Monetary Fund, Kristalina Georgieva, together with her delegation, met President Anura Kumara Dissanayake this morning during her 3-day visit to Sri Lanka.
The president expressed his gratitude for the IMF support in helping Sri Lanka restore economic stability, noting that the country's ability to successfully manage the severe disaster, known as Ditwa, was also a result of that stability. Highlighting that political and economic decisions were not intertwined during the Ditwa challenge, President Dissanayake said the government's next objective is to ensure that the benefits of the economic recovery flow directly to the ordinary people. The president further stated that the disaster had affected low-income rural communities the most. He explained that a comprehensive program has been planned to uplift these communities economically and strengthen human capital development, and he expressed hope for continued IMF support in driving this process forward. Responding to the president, the IMF managing director said the fund has taken steps to provide emergency financial assistance to Sri Lanka for disaster relief efforts. According to the president's media division, Georgieva also commended the government's swift actions to provide relief to the affected communities and its commitment to structured recovery despite the challenges. Both parties agreed to further strengthen close cooperation aimed at completing economic recovery and achieving growth built upon macroeconomic stability. IMF Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva visited areas in the Udupalata Divisional Secretariat badly affected by the Ditwa cyclone-triggered landslides as part of her ongoing visit to Sri Lanka. Georgieva toured the Mavathura village, identified as one of the most severely impacted zones during the national disaster, where multiple homes were destroyed. The landslides claimed 28 lives, while 6 others remain missing. During her visit, Georgieva engaged with affected residents and expressed her deep sympathies. She commended the government's rapid relief measures implemented in response to the disaster and praised the extraordinary resilience, dedication and unity demonstrated by the community.
I am here to pass a message for all my colleagues of admiration for your strength, for your resilience, and of deep, deep sympathy for the devastation that has affected this community. My organization was called to help, and we immediately provided over $200 million of financial support for Sri Lanka.
Thank you so much.
To build back better. This is a beautiful country with beautiful, strong people, and I know that you will prosper. So, how do you cope now?
We lost everything, madam. We lost the house, and we now need a house and money, everything we need. Can you help? Because so thanks.
It is a message that is very helpful to hear, because late in the day we will be meeting with the President, the Prime Minister, and we will convey message. And you can know that we are with you.
Attending the occasion were Labour Minister and Deputy Minister of Finance and Planning Dr. Anil Jayanta Fernando, Governor of the Central Province Professor Saratha Bekon, Secretary to the Ministry of Finance, Economic Stabilisation and National Policies Dr. Harshana Surya Perumal, Chief Secretary of the Central Province GHM Premasinghe and Kandy District Secretary Indiko Devatta. UK Deputy Prime Minister David Lammy arrived on the island this morning for a one-day official visit. Lammy met with President Anurukumara Dissanayake, during which the President expressed gratitude for the United Kingdom's special assistance to Sri Lanka, particularly the support extended during the IMF program, the debt restructuring process and the removal of tariffs on Sri Lankan apparel exports to the UK. The UK Deputy Prime Minister expressed satisfaction over Sri Lanka's current economic progress and commended the country's new economic plans. He stated that the United Kingdom expects to support the government's initiatives aimed at transforming the green energy sector. Lammy also conveyed his regret over the painful experience Sri Lanka faced during Cyclone Ditwa. He expressed confidence that Sri Lanka will recover quickly in the face of this challenge. Sri Lanka officially committed to the Global Charter on Children's Care Reform today. The event, hosted at the United Nations office in Colombo by UNICEF Sri Lanka, was headlined by a visit from Deputy Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, David Lammy, who witnessed Sri Lanka become the 35th country to pledge its support to the international framework.
Care provisions. I think that deserves a round.
Deputy Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, David Lammy, emphasised that the UK stands by the work that's being done in Sri Lanka to ensure that children get the support that they need.
This is an issue that is personal to me. And in January 2025, I launched the Global Initiative to Reform Children's Care Reform, and that campaign seeks to ensure that every child has the chance to grow up in a safe and loving family environment. It strengthens families, it prevents unnecessary separation for young people, and it ensures the provision of a safe, family-based alternative care where it's needed, and it moves away from the use of institutions for children's care around the world. And obviously through this campaign, the United Kingdom's working with states such as Sri Lanka to drive the urgent and decisive and coordinated steps to ensure that no child is left behind. I'm very pleased that Sri Lanka recently passed a national action plan on child protection and is already working with UNICEF. The UK is a partner country of Sri Lanka. We have historic ties. We have the foundation of our relationship in the Commonwealth, and so we stand by the work that's being done here in Sri Lanka to ensure that children get the support that they need as Sri Lanka makes this journey, a journey that obviously will take time and dedication and patience, but nevertheless is fundamentally important to the future of this country and the prospects of all children.
Speaking at the event, representatives of the UNICEF Sri Lanka, Emma Brigham, stressed that the principles of the Charter align with Sri Lanka's existing reform efforts.
The global campaign on children's care reform, initiated by the UK in 2024 and launched as the Global Charter at the UN General Assembly last year, has created important momentum. UNICEF globally has been working closely with the UK government and other partners to shape the Charter as a practical, partnership-driven instrument. It is non-binding, but it is ambitious in its intent to promote leadership, measurable goals, peer learning and shared accountability. The principles of the Charter align with Sri Lanka's existing reform efforts, preventing unnecessary family-child separation, prioritising family-based alternative care where separation is necessary, and progressively moving away from institutionalisation towards reintegration and family-based solutions. But care reform cannot succeed in isolation. It must address the drivers of placement: poverty, violence, disability-related stigma, and gaps in services. The Ministry's commitment to strengthen case management systems and improve service pathways is particularly important, and today's engagement reinforces commitments already made by the government at the international level. We hope that by signing the expression of intent today, Sri Lanka joins a growing movement of governments demonstrating that with leadership and partnership, transformative change is possible, that every child can grow up in a safe and supportive family environment.
Minister for Women and Child Affairs Saroja Savitri Paul Raj stated that Sri Lanka agrees in principle with the objectives of the Charter.
Sri Lanka agrees in principle with the objectives of this important Charter, and we will be working towards completing necessary internal procedures. For our government, children are not simply a policy priority, they are a fundamental national responsibility. Children represent the future of our world. It is our collective responsibility to ensure that every child grows up in a safe, nurturing and supportive environment that allows them to thrive. As a state party to the Convention on the Rights of the Child since 1991, Sri Lanka has consistently upheld and advanced the rights, protection and well-being of children as a national priority. We have operationalized a national policy framework that prioritizes family-based care over institutionalization. This approach has been strengthened through coordinated efforts of relevant state institutions, non-governmental organizations, and UN agencies over the past 2 decades. It is further reinforced by our national child protection and early childhood development policies, ensuring that the best interest of the child is not just a phrase, but a practice. We are also advancing key legislative reforms, amendments to the Children and Young Persons Ordinance and the adoption of Children Ordinance, together with formulation of a dedicated foster care law, seeks to align our legal framework in line with our national policy objectives and international standards. In addition, our proposed disaster management bill incorporates specific protections for children in emergencies, ensuring no child is left behind.
A discussion on advancing plans to establish the proposed Sri Lanka-Japan Export Industrial Corridor aimed at strengthening Sri Lanka-Japan economic relations and directing them onto a new path was held today at the Presidential Secretariat under the leadership of President Anurukumara Dissanayake. The meeting was attended by Japan's Vice Minister for International Affairs of the Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry, Takehiko Matsuo, Japan's Ambassador to Sri Lanka, Akio Isamata, Chairman of the Japan-Sri Lanka Business Cooperation Committee, Fumihiko Kobayashi, and a group of senior representatives from Japan's industrial sector. The proposed export industrial corridor is expected to attract investment to Sri Lanka for export-oriented manufacturing targeting international markets. Meanwhile, the signing of the cooperation agreement on the Sri Lanka-Japan Intergovernmental Economic Policy Dialogue took place yesterday at the Ministry of Finance. On behalf of the government of Sri Lanka, the agreement was signed by K.A. Vimalendira Raja, Secretary to the Ministry of Trade, Commerce, Food Security and Cooperative Development, and Darshan M. Pereira, Acting Additional Secretary of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Representing the government of Japan, the agreement was signed by Takehiko Matsuo, Vice Minister for International Affairs of Japan's Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry, and Masakatsu Morotani, Director of the Southwest Asia Division of Japan's Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
President Anurukumara Dissanayake departed for India this afternoon to attend the India AI Impact Summit 2026.
India AI Impact Summit 2026, held under the overarching themes of people, planet and prosperity, is taking place at the Bharat Mandapam Convention Centre. It began yesterday with the participation of representatives from 45 countries and will run until the 20th. The Heads of State segment of the summit is scheduled to commence tomorrow, where President Anurukumara Dissanayake is expected to deliver an address. The event is being held on the invitation of Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and leaders from 20 countries are set to take part. Alongside the summit, President Dissanayake is also scheduled to hold bilateral discussions with several heads of state, including the President of France. Among the world leaders attending the summit, along with President Anurukumara Dissanayake, are French President Emmanuel Macron, Brazilian President Lula da Silva, and Abu Dhabi Crown Prince Sheikh Khalid bin Mohammed bin Saeed Al Nahyan. In addition, Prime Ministers and Vice Presidents from countries such as Bhutan, Spain, Croatia, Estonia, Finland, the Netherlands and Switzerland are also expected to participate. The summit will feature wide-ranging discussions on shaping global policy for leveraging artificial intelligence to advance human development, environmental protection and economic progress. Previous editions of the summit were held for the first time in 2023 in the United Kingdom as the AI Safety Summit, followed by Seoul Summit in South Korea in 2024, and last year in Paris as the AI Action Summit. This year's summit will also bring together leading global technology figures, including Google CEO Sundar Pichai, OpenAI CEO Sam Altman, representing ChatGPT, and Jensen Huang, founder of NVIDIA, the world's most valuable semiconductor company. Indian media has also reported that Microsoft founder Bill Gates and India's richest individual Mukesh Ambani will attend the event.
Tariq Rahman was sworn in as the new Prime Minister of Bangladesh today.
Tariq Rahman was sworn in as the new Prime Minister for Bangladesh today. The ceremony took place at the South Plaza of the National Parliament. Alongside the Prime Minister, his new cabinet also took their oaths of office before President Mohammad Shahabuddin. Representing Sri Lanka, the Minister of Health and Media, Dr. Nalinda Jayatissa, attended the event. This marks a decisive turning point in Bangladeshi politics following the unrest in 2024. Rahman's government's biggest initial challenges will include restoring political stability, rebuilding investor confidence, and reviving key industries such as the garment sector after prolonged turmoil following the Gen Z-led uprising that toppled Sheikh Hasina's government in 2024. Prime Minister Tariq Rahman, whose term will last for 5 years, is the son of former Prime Minister Khaleda Zia and former President Ziaur Rahman. He is also Bangladesh's first male Prime Minister in 35 years since 1991, when Bangladesh returned to democracy. Either Rahman's mother or her arch-rival Sheikh Hasina had served as Prime Ministers.
Train drivers have decided to launch a strike from midnight tonight. Now, Newsfirst Charlene Benedict is ready to bring us the details of this developing situation. Charlene?
Thank you very much, Naveksha. Now, a few hours ago, the Locomotive Operating Engineers Union announced a trade union action, a strike. Now, you might wonder, this is just another strike action, and we Sri Lankans are no strangers to the occasional inconvenience caused due to strike actions, especially when it comes to railway trade unions. But this time, it's different. This is not a mere regular trade union action. It's a calculated attack on 450,000 students sitting their ordinary level examination. Now, that is where the heinous nature in this purported trade union action comes into play. But before we get into all of that, let's try to understand why this trade union is launching this trade union action and why this trade union action is launched right now, all of a sudden. This is what the trade unions had to say.
Today, a special event was held at the Maganaguma premises of the Ministry of Transport to recruit new train drivers. Along with the newly recruited drivers, a group of military personnel were also included among the new recruits for training. We protested this move, and although we held extensive discussions with the Deputy Minister of Transport at the premises, there were certain matters that we could not agree on. Therefore, we had to regrettably launch a railway strike action effective from midnight today. We are professional drivers, and therefore we believe that there is no need for military officers to join us. Therefore, we ask the government to change that decision and to hold discussions with us to resolve this trade union action. We will continue this trade union action until the government withdraws their decision.
Now, those are the views expressed by the trade unions. Let's take a look at the stance of the government for a rounded idea on what exactly is going on.
As you all know, during the time when Cyclone Ditwa hit, the Army and the Tri-Forces assisted in the operations. We identified the importance of military officers having experience in all fields. We saw how important the expertise of military officers in the fields of health, transport and all other fields, and how their service was important to the entire country when there is an emergency. There is no need for any trade union action in this regard. About 300 trains operate per day. What can we achieve if we can only operate 20 trains? If that was the case, we would have deployed army officers for all 300 train journeys. We have been in power for 14 months and there were trade union action. We never suppressed those trade union actions by using the military force. It is clear that we did this after understanding the importance of these officers having the necessary skill. If not here, we would even send these officers overseas and give them the required training. That is not a big thing, but the only difference is they can train for free here. This is a real situation. This is an unjust strike action. The ordinary level examination began today, and even against such a backdrop, they launched this strike action. action. I request the trade union to rethink the launching of this strike action. This is an unnecessary trade union action. I request them to suspend this trade union action to hold discussions with us. If you want to know anything, you can ask us. I request them to suspend the trade union action.
Sri Lanka officially committed to the Global Charter on Children's Care Reform today. Sri Lanka has always upheld the highest standards when it comes to protecting our children, and today that responsibility is even more. Because for the first time after the COVID-19 pandemic, the economic crisis in Sri Lanka, the political unrest in Sri Lanka, and most recently, the devastating destruction caused by the Ditwa cyclone, our children are sitting for a national level examination, the GCE ordinary level examination. Now mind you, some of these children have lost their parents, they've lost their homes, they've lost their families, they've lost their friends, they've lost their books, they've lost their uniforms. And many of these children, for a considerable period of time, lost access to their very schools, the place where they are supposed to learn everything that they need to sit for these national level examinations. Now against such a backdrop, and in full appreciation of all of this, knowing very well that this is going to severely affect over 450,000 students sitting their ordinary level examinations tomorrow, railway trade unions have suddenly announced a strike action. Now, speaking of the circumstances of this strike action, they very well know that a majority of these students will not be able to make it in time to their examination centers tomorrow, if they can make it in time, if they can make it to these examination centers at all. And at this very moment, the government needs to take a decision. Silence no longer can be accepted. Now, what is happening right now is almost as if railway trade unions are holding a knife onto the neck of children, holding a knife onto the neck of their parents and holding them for ransom, using them as leverage. Now, Sri Lanka is a signatory to the UN Convention on Protecting Child Rights. We signed it all the way back in 1991. And according to the provisions of that convention, children cannot be used in this way. Children cannot be used as a bargaining chip or as leverage for the furtherance of whatever aspirations of any trade union. The government needs to understand the reality and confront the reality of this situation. Imagine a child of one of these train operators who is supposed to sit the ordinary level examination tomorrow. Do you think that their parents can join this strike action with a clear conscience? Now, it's against such a backdrop that all of this is taking place. In addition to all of this, Sri Lanka Railways is funded by taxpayers. It is taxpayers' rupees that foots the bill when Sri Lanka Railways runs at a loss for several years, not the employees of Sri Lanka Railways or members of these trade unions. And for decades, Sri Lanka Railways has been holding the country back and not evolving with the times. When the people keep on asking for change, Sri Lanka Railways has always resisted that change. And of course, trade unions are part of this archaic, fossilized system and culture that has been embedded in Sri Lanka Railways. As of now, with the strike action in place, it is imperative that the government takes solid and concrete action. Government cannot continue to remain silent at a moment when the lives of hundreds of thousands of children, their futures, hang in the balance. Firm and decisive action is needed right now.
Thank you, Charlotte. Now moving on to more local news. The government has decided to implement the Yathipuramapia Nivahana housing project, which aims to build homes for economically vulnerable parents whose children have entered the Buddhist monastic order. The proposal has received cabinet approval. Through the intervention of the Ministry of Buddha Shasana, together with the Ministry of Housing, a special housing project has been planned. This is the Yativara Mapya Nivahan initiative. Under this program, approval has been granted to construct houses for the parents of monks who have already been ordained at temples. An allocation of 1.5 million rupees per house has been made to build these homes. The cabinet has approved the construction of 10,000 houses under the first phase of this project.
Meanwhile, the national program to reconstruct religious sites damaged by Ditwa disaster is now underway. The Kandy district component of the initiative is launched in Kandy under the leadership of Gamagedara Disanayaka, Deputy Minister of Buddha Sasana, Religious and Cultural Affairs. Reconstruction work has commenced at the Gatambe Rajopavanarama Viharaya, while restoration activities have also begun at the Katarangala Raja Mahaviharaya.
Newsfirst with the people.
The current government should be replaced not by the corrupt forces already rejected by the people, but by democratic opposition, says Kumar Gunaratnam, General Secretary of the Frontline Socialist Party.
At this fourth convention, we make our pledge before the working people of this country, the general public, the working class, farmers, fisherfolk, the self-employed and small business owners, the overwhelming majority of our society. We state our readiness to lead the alternative current, the alternative program that rises upward against the mainstream that has long flowed downstream.
Responding to a question raised at the media briefing on whether the Frontline Socialist Party is capable of securing such power, Gunaratnam stated the following.
The question now being asked is whether we can gain power, whether we can build a movement capable of doing so. The same question was once raised about the JVP. When political crises and the people's uprising emerged, the traditional political parties were rejected and they were able to form a government. That is why we do not limit ourselves to electoral numbers. Recent experience, locally and globally, shows us how conditions and political moments can rapidly change. Therefore, we believe we are ready to build a party prepared to take power. At this convention, we affirm our commitment to begin that journey.
When asked about the party's plan to provide swift solutions to people's problems and govern without becoming distant from public expectations, Gunaratnam stated the following.
We say that governance must come from the people, with the people, under the leadership of the working masses from the villages, the streets, the cities, the universities, the workplaces, the factories and the fishing harbours. An active organised public force must remain continuously engaged, meeting weekly, making decisions and intervening in national and regional political matters, proposing economic alternatives and rejecting anti-people policies. We aim to take power with such a people-led force. It will not be a party alone, it will be the sustained power of the public operating within governance.
Kumar Gunaratnam made these remarks during a media briefing held yesterday to outline the upcoming 4th National Convention scheduled for the 1st of March. The Frontline Socialist Party was founded on the 9th of April 2012 by a group that broke away from the Janata Vimukti Peramuna, citing the absence of internal democracy within the traditional party and deviations from the founding principles of its leadership. Since then, the Frontline Socialist Party has remained active locally and internationally, contributing to the electoral arena and people's struggles.
The Halsdorf Bookfest 2026, organised by the Sri Lanka Law Students Sinhala Union, commenced at the Sri Lanka Law College today.
The 4-day annual book exhibition organised by the Sri Lanka Law Students Sinhala Union will be held from 17th of February to the 20th of February at the Sri Lanka Law College. The exhibition was ceremonially opened this morning.
And I want to stress on the fact that in this time and age, with TikTok, with Facebook, with Twitter or now X, with all these social media, everything is instantaneous. The habit of reading has died. Without reading, producing something, writing becomes nearly impossible. So all of you are mostly young people here. I encourage you to inculcate in yourselves this habit of reading. It does make a full man or woman. So read, and if you're going to become a legal professional, without reading, you're not going to be able to perform your duties.
Several leading publishing institutions are participating in the exhibition.
The 4th Pathfinder Indian Ocean Security Conference was held in Colombo.
The 4th Pathfinder Indian Ocean Security Conference was held in Colombo, bringing together diplomats, policymakers, academics and strategic experts to discuss emerging security, economic and environmental challenges across the Indian Ocean region. Organised by the Pathfinder Foundation, the 2-day conference serves as a regional Track 1.5 and Track 2 dialogue platform focused on strategic and security cooperation in the Indo-Pacific. The conference was co-chaired by former Indian National Security Advisor Shivashankar Menon and Pathfinder Foundation Chairman Bernard Gunathilaka. The keynote address was delivered by Professor Nobukatsu Kanehara, a professor at Reikato University and former Assistant Chief Cabinet Secretary to former Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe.
Nobody can abandon trust of the people. This is the essential of the politics, international politics, domestic politics. Today, the greatest powers are making troubles everywhere. President Trump is raising tariff, Putin is invading the Ukraine, and China is enhancing their interests unilaterally in the sea of South China Sea and East China Sea. But I have to say that in comparison with the early 20th century, human history is making progress. We have achieved many things. The United Nations Charter 1945, they prohibited war except the self-defense. Colonial rule was over. In 1945, when Japan was defeated, there was no Asia. Asia was Europe. Japan destroyed all the colonial powers in Asia and destroyed itself. It's a big mistake, but the colonial rule ended. But I have said 2 priests changed the course of world history forever. That's the Mahatma Gandhi and Martin Luther King. They never triggered bullets. They never killed anybody, but they changed the course of human history, saying that we have all conscience, we have all love, and we can live together without any discrimination. And we have to talk among us, create new rules. And the government is only to serve people. That was their messages, and that spread all over the world.
This year's conference focuses on 4 key themes: connectivity corridors including BRI and IMEC initiatives, digital maritime infrastructure, submarine cables and data security, strategic competition over seabed mineral climate change, migration and human security challenges in the Indian Ocean.
Sri Lanka is set to captivate regional audiences as Jaya Flavors Celebrating Sri Lanka makes its debut on National Geographic South Asia, a vibrant 6-part journey through the island's food, culture and landscapes.
Sri Lanka has stepped into the regional spotlight with the debut of Jaya Flavor Celebrating Sri Lanka, a 6-part travel and culinary series set to air on National Geographic South Asia from Friday. Hosted by Sri Lankan author and food storyteller Tasha Marikkar, the series is inspired by her HarperCollins published cookbook Jaya Flavor.
Sri Lankan food is talked about a lot, but it's rarely explained properly, and even more rarely by Sri Lankans themselves. I wanted the book to represent Sri Lanka as I know it: multi-ethnic, modern, chaotic, generous, opinionated, and absolutely obsessed with flavor. That was the starting point. But very quickly I realized something. People didn't just want recipes, they wanted places. Sri Lanka is often presented to the world as one of 2 things: a postcard or a tragedy. What's usually missing is the truth, that we are a country full of humor, talent, creativity, contradiction, and yes, a very strong opinion on food. For me, food became the way in, because food carries everything: history, identity, migration, community, resilience. Every dish tells a story, and if you slow down long enough to listen, you'll hear it. This is the first Sri Lankan made series of its kind to premiere at this scale across South Asia. It's not just entertainment, it's cultural storytelling, it's tourism storytelling, it's identity broadcast outwards. My hope is simple: that people tune in, that they fall in love with Sri Lanka, that they book trips, and Sri Lankans watch it and feel proud. Because this show is my love letter to the island I call home, and I can't wait for the rest of South Asia to meet it.
The series is directed by Abdulaziz, known for his documentary genius Of the Place, which explored the legacy of renowned architect Jeffrey Bava.
We shot this about 2 years ago in January 2024, which shows you how long it takes to actually make a show of this quality and caliber. I think Sri Lankan food should be as recognized globally as Thai food, for example. And so we really set out to try and show people the wonder and diversity of the food. Each episode is almost like a little mini film. The dish is the character, and then we use that as a journey to go on the place and show this country with energy, humor, and personality. Why I'm really proud of this is because it shows the new Sri Lanka, which is modern, magnetic, multicultural. We realize that the beauty of Sri Lankan food is not just the diversity of the ingredients, but the diversity of the people. It is all of these cultures coming together over hundreds of years that have made Sri Lankan food and made Sri Lanka so great.
Filmed across Colombo, Jaffna, Hirkatia, Putlam and Gaul, the program features personalities such as Chef Darshan Munidasa of Ministry of Crab and Booker Prize-winning author Shehan Karuna Tilaka. The series will be broadcast across India, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Nepal and the Maldives, placing Sri Lanka at the forefront of a key regional travel audience.
Hillary Clinton has accused US President Donald Trump's administration of a cover-up over its handling of files related to the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein.
The former US Secretary of State told the BBC in Berlin, where she attended the annual World Forum, quote, "Get the files out. They are slow walking it," unquote.
We are more than happy to say what we know, which is very limited and totally unrelated to their behavior or their crimes. And we want to do it in public because let's make this transparent.
There are calls for another individual who denies wrongdoing to go before Congress on this matter. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, formerly Prince Andrew. Do you think he should testify?
I think everybody should testify. Look,
including the former prince?
I think everybody should testify who is asked to testify. I just want it to be fair. I want everybody treated the same way. That's not true for my husband and me because other witnesses were asked to testify. They gave written statements under oath. We offered that. They want to pull us. Why do they want to pull us into this? To divert attention from President Trump. This is not complicated.
As millions across the world usher in the Lunar New Year on the 17th February 2026, the arrival of the Year of the Fire Horse marks one of the most anticipated and historically intriguing cycles in the Chinese zodiac. Now, this rare combination of zodiac animal and element last appeared 60 years ago, and its return has stirred global fascination, cultural reflection, and predictions of a bold, transformative year ahead. Millions celebrate the start of the Lunar New Year this week, many of them on holiday for the rest of the week to be with family. In China alone, 9.5 billion cross-regional journeys are expected in what is considered the world's largest human migration. Lion dances and lantern displays have illuminated Spring Festival celebrations across China, lifting festive spirits and drawing crowds while boosting domestic tourism. The Spring Festival, which falls on the 17th February or Tuesday this year, marks the start of the Chinese New Year. This year ushers in the Year of the Horse, the 7th of the 12 animals in the Chinese zodiac. The Guangdong Lion Dance, also known as Xing Shi, is a cultural treasure that combines martial arts, dance and music. Originating in Guangdong, it is performed during festivals and major celebrations to bring good luck, ward off evil spirits and symbolize strength, courage and prosperity.
Sri Lanka having advanced to the Super 8 stage of the T20 World Cup with an impressive 8-wicket victory over Australia will face England on the 22nd. The Pallekele International Cricket Stadium, which can accommodate 30,000 spectators, was packed to capacity yesterday without a single empty seat.
Sri Lanka enjoyed both overwhelming home support and the advantage at the toss, with captain Dasun Shanaka electing to bowl first. During the bowling innings, Matisha Pathirana suffered an injury and was forced to leave the field. It is now indicated that he is likely to miss the remainder of the tournament. Australia were bowled out for 181 runs in 20 overs. In Sri Lanka's reply, Kusal Mendis scored 51 runs, marking his third consecutive half-century in this tournament. The chase was masterfully anchored by Pathum Nissanka, who thrilled the packed stadium with an unbeaten 100, guiding Sri Lanka to victory. This is only his second T20 international century, and he is the first player in this tournament to score 100. Sri Lanka reached the target of 182 runs in 18 overs, losing just 2 wickets.
Thank you for supporting us. Thank you for backing us during tough times. Your support means a lot. Please keep coming and supporting our matches. As a team, we believe we can have a great tournament and reach the semi-finals. Thank you very much.
Yes. Yeah. Nissanka 100, beautiful 100. Game ammane, game ammane. Sri Lanka waru India adat gahana. Ape Lanka kollu.
Well done, Sri Lanka. We want them to win.
Sri Lanka is the best team. Best team.
After we lost the first wicket, Kusal Mendis and I planned to play a strong power play. He gave us a good start, and that made it easier for me to continue my innings. I'm very happy. Scoring 100 in a World Cup was one of my big goals, and I'm delighted I could achieve it.
Former Sri Lanka coach Mickey Arthur, along with Kumar Sangakkara, Aaron Finch and others have praised Nissanka's exceptional knock. Sri Lanka have one more match remaining in the group stage against Zimbabwe, which will be played tomorrow at the R. Premadasa Stadium in Colombo. Sri Lanka's first Super 8 fixture will be held on the 22nd at Pallekele, followed by the Sri Lanka-New Zealand match on the 25th at the R. Premadasa Stadium.
The teams competing in the 147th Royal-Thomian Battle of the Blues annual cricket encounter between Royal College Colombo and St. Thomas's College Mount Lavinia were officially introduced in Colombo today.
Recognized as the second oldest uninterrupted school cricket series in the world, the historic Royal-Thomian clash celebrates its 147th edition this year. At today's ceremony, the DSN Nayaka Memorial Shield awarded to the winners was also presented to the participating teams. Principals, distinguished alumni and sponsors of both schools attended the event. Both Royal College and St. Thomas's College have each secured 36 victories, while 74 matches have ended without a result. The 147th Battle of the Blues will be played on the 12th, 13th and 14th of March at the SSC grounds in Colombo. Official broadcast rights for the event have been awarded to the Maharaja Media Network. Representing the Maharaja Media Network at the sponsorship announcement were Buddhi Vikramanayaka, the Chief Operating Officer of MBC, and Manilal Fernando, the channel head of YesFM.
And that's a wrap of your news for tonight.
Thank you for watching. Good night.